Hey, and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to share with you the books that I have assigned for independent reading for my son, who is headed to the 5th grade, or he's in the 5th grade right now, and we are homeschooling for the 2018-2019 school year. So here are all the books that he is required to read. Yeah. This is the first book here. This book is about bullying. He has read this book already. Oh, yeah. Here is the next book, The Toothpaste Millionaire. He actually enjoyed this book. We completed this book over the summer. We are now in the month of August. His reading list began in June. Here is another book that he is required to read, How to Turn $100 into $1 Million. He has read this book already. I gave him a project. The project is to basically list in this pamphlet 4 important facts, or 8 important facts or 8 important lessons that he's learned in this book that he is going to hold dear to actually help him budget, save, invest, or become a millionaire. So he has to create a cover page for his pamphlet, and in the back he has to create or write a commitment to himself. So that is all a part of this book that he has already read. He doesn't have to do a project or an assignment for each book. It's just for the ones that I think will be a benefit to him. Here is another book, The Chocolate Touch. He has read this book already as well. Okay, so with this book, you'll see tabs. So what we actually do for every book that he reads, we just literally pick a page randomly, and he has to do copy work. So in this book here, we randomly chose these 3 pages. He has to do, write this sentence out. John gulped down a large piece of second glove's palm and looked pleased. So he has to write that sentence in his copybook. The next sentence we chose from this book is this sentence here. Very short. It says this sentence here. 2 minutes to go, said Miss Plimsoll. And then finally, we randomly chose the last one, and it is this first sentence here. Mrs. Buttercup offered to clean John up. That's it. And the point of copy work, guys, is to make sure that he understands that he has to properly copy punctuation, a sentence. He has to look and pay attention to the details. And in doing this is really great, because we found thus far that in his copy work that he makes mistakes. He forgets about the punctuation, or he doesn't capitalize where he's supposed to capitalize, or if the title is capitalized, he won't pay attention to those things. So this is just really helping him focus, pay attention, write good sentences, so that when he writes on his own, he has a reference of what good writing is. Okay. He is currently reading this book, Clubhouse Mysteries, and he actually likes this book. He's already said, oh, get book number 2. I don't know where he is. He never puts a marker as to where he is in the book. He just says, I know where I stopped. So that's it. So we're going to go ahead and get the second book for him for Clubhouse Mysteries. This is book 1, and it's called The Buried Bones Mystery. And as you'll notice as we go through the books, all of the books, we have some twaddle books that some people will refer to, those books that don't have any lessons to them, or they're just funny, goofy books. I'm okay with having my child read twaddle. I'm good with them reading comic books. I'm good with them reading good literature. I want him to be well versed, and I want him to have a gamut of different types of books that he enjoys. The next book, and he does not have to, the rest of the books he has not read, but he does not have to read them in the order that I am presenting them to you in this video. So here's another book he has to read, Madam C.J. Walker's Road to Success. I'm Just No Good at Rhyming and Other Nonsense for Mischievous Kids and Immature Grown-Ups. So this is another book that he has to read. Again, this is independent reading. He reads this on his own. He has to read 30 minutes a day, but of course he can go a bit longer. If we're having a very busy day, he has to read a minimum of 2 chapters. That's that book. Restart, Lose Your Memory, Find Your Life. And I found these books through book list on YouTube, book list while Googling. Some of these books I had on my list for a while. I do keep a list of books that I want him to read throughout the various grades. So some of these books came from my own interest, and some of these books came from reading list from, I think it's called the Charlotte Mason Method. Some of the books came from that. And again, some YouTubers that I listened to, also the homeschool convention that I went to this past March 2018. I just found some really good reads. Of course, some books I do not read them thoroughly before I hand them to my child. I'm not going to read every single book that I give my child to read. However, I am going to research a little bit about its content just to make sure it's appropriate. For a 5th grader, I don't really want to introduce him to certain topics through reading a book. I want to talk to him about certain topics, topics such as death, maybe gang violence or violence in general. Certain topics I want to reserve for conversation, and then if there's a book that, you know, dives in deeper, then we'll go there. A lot of these books are not only literature with morals, but it's also literature that teaches him about some of the enrichment that we're doing, which is more focused on character building, character development, and finance. Here's the next book. This is a finance book. How to Teach a Dog to Steal. Well, this is not about finance, but yeah, How to Teach a Dog to Steal. How to Steal a Dog. What? Sorry. How to Steal a Dog. This is under our financial literacy. Lunch Money. Andrew Clements. There's this Andrew Clements character or author has a lot of books, but we're going to start off with Lunch Money. Fish in a Tree. This book is more of a history book. Yes, he has to read this thick book on his own. But more than likely, after he reads this book, we're going to read it again together as I tie this book with our history. So he's going to read this independently, and then we're going to read it again together for history. I'll tie it into U.S. history. This is Howard Zinn, Young People's History of the United States. This is also under financial literacy. The Kids Money Book. The Kids Money Book. Sugar. And of course, I have to make sure that many books that he reads has African American centered characters. And I also try to make sure that some of the books that we've purchased either for independent reading or for shared reading or group reading, or some people may call it read alouds, also included characters of African Americans and also ethnic characters of other ethnicities. He was not excited when he saw this book because of the thickness, but I said, the thickness doesn't matter. Focus on the content of the book. So here's this book, As Brave as You by Jason Reynolds. A lot of these books I purchased from half-price books. As you can see, I purchased some from Amazon. I purchased some from eBay and thrift books. I normally, again, like I said, I have a book list. I'll make a separate video of my book list and how I come up with that for various grade levels. But yeah, so I have my book list. I go online, I look for that particular title, and then I go to each one of those sites I just mentioned. Half-price books, I'll actually go into the store, give them a list. They'll give me prices. I'll go to Amazon, eBay, thrift books, and I will price compare, and we'll go from there. This is a twaddle that some people will consider. Well, some people will consider this book to be twaddle. Undead Pets. But again, I have to give my son different types of books to read to keep him motivated. If I just give him books like this to read or books like this to read, he will lose interest. But if I tie in some twaddle, that'll keep him interested. I do let him choose what books he wants to read in what order. However, if I notice that he is reading a lot of books in a row that don't have value, or it doesn't have a moral content, it doesn't have moral content to it, or it's not about finance, or it's not about history, then I'll tell him, okay, the next book you're going to read is going to be this particular title. But so far so good. He's read 2 finance type books. He's read a book on character, and he's read 2 books that are considered really fun. So he is mixing it well. Here is another book, Stat, Standing Tall and Talented, Home Court. This is the first book in this series. If he likes this book, then I'll buy him the second book in the series. And that's what I did with many of these books that have multiple series. Again, you can see that this is book 1. Book 1. I buy the first one in the series, and if he enjoys it, then we will add the next book in the series. But I'm not going to add any books during the school year unless it's an amazing book, or it hits perfectly on a particular topic or subject that we are on. I'm not purchasing any additional books for the 2018-2019 school year. And for me, just to let you know, because we started homeschooling this year, the 2018 school year, of course, will go through the end of December, and then we'll start calling our academic years by the actual calendar year. So we're going to have 2019 school year, which will run from January to December, since we are going to we're going to institute a year-round schooling approach, where schooling is done every day. Learning is everywhere. It may not be a formal setting for school, but we will have year-round schooling. So when I say 2018-2019 school year, that is actually from July 2018, which is when we started this whole homeschool thing, and it's going to run through December of 2019. That's how we're doing our school year. Okay, and then at the end of 2019, the next academic year will be 2020, and that'll be January 2020 through December 2020. That's how we're going to run our school year, which is not the way it's typically done, nor is it the way that the school district does theirs. But for us and our planning and how I would like to do things, I think that would be more efficient and effective for our style. And of course, if it changes, it changes. But right now, that's how I want to do it. Here's the next book, Glory Be. Here's a twaddle. Diary of a 6th Grade Ninja. This is another book that has a series. As you can see, this is book 1. And like I said earlier in the video, if he likes the first book in the series, we'll go ahead and add the second, but it'll be for the following school year, unless he reads all of this. If he can read all this, because technically he has 18 months to read all these books, and we have 18 months to get through our read aloud. More than likely, he will be done reading all these books. So the books that are on my list for 6th grade, to include additional books that he wants me to get based on the series that he's reading, we'll absolutely go ahead and add those books to our shelf. But I'm not adding books during the school year until he's done reading all of his independent reading, and we're done reading our read alouds. This is another book, Aminas Voice. Here's another book in our enrichment series under finance. Growing Money, a complete investing guide for kids. And I'll go over in a separate video what else is included in our enrichment series, and also what else or how we organize our subjects. Celia Lee Jenkins, Future Author Extraordinaire. Another book in our enrichment series under finance, The Money Book for Kids. I think it's called The Totally Awesome Money Book for Kids. This is another book in the Andrew Clements No Talking. So I did get 2. So this is book 2, I think. I'm not sure if I did the order of the series for this one. I just think I purchased 2 books that looked interesting or sounded interesting. Another finance book in our, or another book in our enrichment series on economics. This is a cool way of teaching your kids economics. This book he'll read independently, and we'll also bring this book back when we do economics. Here's another book in our enrichment series under finance. Millionaire Extraordinaire, The Lemonade Escapade. This is another book, The One and Only Ivan. And some of these books can be given to a 3rd grader. Some can be given to a 4th grader, 5th grader, or a 6th grader. It just depends on their interest. It depends on their reading capacity, their reading level. As you can see, some of these books that I have range. I would say a 3rd grader could read some of these books all the way through a 6th grader. I don't want to give my child only hard books. I want to give him books that he can read in a day, books that he can read in 2 days, and a book that may take a month. This one may take him a month or maybe 3 weeks to read. I want to give him options. I want to expand his reading capacity. This is a comic book style. I think it's called Umoja Force, Unity and is Power. It's about Black superheroes, African superheroes, comic book style. I can tell he's going to read this multiple times, and it'll take him less than a day. It'll take him maybe an hour to read the whole thing, maybe 30 minutes to read that. Here's the next one. Dara Brown, Unforgivable. This is another comic book style. African centered comic book. And this book here is the last book, The Random House Book of Humor for Children. So this book has a lot of short stories in it. Here's the table of contents. Here's a few. And this is supposed to be a really funny book. So we'll see if he enjoys this. Okay, so those are the books for our 2018-2019 school year. He was not excited about the number of the sheer number. He was not excited about the sheer number of books that he had to read. But after looking at a few of them, he was excited because of the titles and the design of the books. So we'll see how it goes. I'm just showing you a quick shot of all the books in totality as I put them up. If you have any questions about a specific title or you need an author, if you can just let me know in the comments below. I'll be more than happy to respond. And like I mentioned earlier, I will absolutely do another video showcasing the read alouds that we're going to do for the year. So thank you for indulging me today. Thank you for watching the video. You guys have a great day. And as always, everyone, be blessed.